Hey, this is the antisocial socialite back at it again. Thanks so much for everyone who's tuning in or who will tune in. I hope you guys are doing well. This is going to be a very quick video because it is Pick Me Monday. Shout out to all the Pick Me's, all of you doormats and black male worshippers. Salute, and to the rest of you with your degrees and your education and your cats. Good luck. You're gonna need it. This is a video I wanted to do a little while ago because when I first started the channel, one of the things I actually said was, for black women who really want to succeed, we have to educate ourselves. And I said, let's try and find some channels that promote marriage and motherhood. And there actually is a channel called Marriage and Motherhood. And it's for stay-at-home wives. Obviously, we know Kevin Samuels has been really asking a lot of women this question: do you want to be a stay-at-home wife? And he kind of took the thought out of my head, where it's like a lot of women say, yes, I would like that, or I would love to run a business from home. And they don't actually have skills that make that a reality or a possibility, which is a shame, because for you to continue working and contributing, you have to leave the home because your skill set is not applicable to a home business. So as I was looking for channels for myself to look at, I came across a number of channels of stay-at-home wives and mothers. And this one is not black, but it was really captivating because it's a channel called Mom of 10 or something. I can't even remember now. But, you know, there's no ambiguity in the title. That's what it is. You know, this woman has 10 children. I can't even remember from what age they vary, but they're quite far apart, because the oldest one, I think, is a son, and he's already married. And she recently put out a video talking about how her 4 oldest ones are leaving home. So one of the videos that I watched was really interesting. I watched several of them, actually. I don't watch it religiously, but there definitely is a lot of stuff that I kind of flick through. And I noticed about how this lady runs her show. So I'm just going to play a little bit of the video and talk about some tips for women who want to think about things that's going to help them to be better parents. Let's see, there isn't really a lot of talking. This lady, I believe she's Finnish and also Australian or something. So I think her accent is a combination of the two. And she's vegan and a minimalist. So what we saw in the first part, this is part 2, is how she would get the baby up, she would go downstairs. I think she would do a little bit of exercise, have her shower. One of the oldest daughters, she would read the Bible with the daughter, and then they would work out together. Then the babies would start waking up, and in her bedroom there's like 3 cribs, and the youngest one would sleep in the bed with them. I mean, this is over a year old. The first video is when she was about to have her 10th child. And so as a result, a year and odd later, the youngest is already a toddler, kind of walking. And then you see her taking the children to, I think, get dressed. And she lines like the 4 of them up on the floor. She changes each nappy. Then she takes them to the kitchen, and she has a little place where she lays them on the floor, and they each get a bottle, and it's very organized. I mean, I don't know what she's talking about here. Let's see. What's she talking about? At one point, she would quickly run into the bathroom, and she would just do some minimalistic makeup, a little bit of foundation, a little bit of eyeliner. And she's just very organized and very structured. So that was one of the first things. I actually took some notes down, but I don't have the notepad here with me. But there were a number of things that I noticed. For example, here you can see one of the children falling off the stool. And how many of us, if we were at the breakfast table or at the dinner table and we kind of were and acting silly and just ended up falling off the chair, it would be like a big deal. Like everybody would just be like, it would have been a huge deal. Like sometimes our parents would have got upset. They would have been kind of like, what are you doing? Get up. Like, stop being silly, and that kind of stifles a child's natural development because they have to learn through experience. They have to have sensory experiences in order to be able to learn what works and what doesn't. And as we talked about in the video about why children raised with fathers, whether in the home or raised by a single father, often do better, it's partly because men generally don't sweat small things. And that gives the child the room that they need to grow naturally in order to have fun. Now, we don't know what happens outside of the camera, but one thing I will say I noticed about this lady is she never raises her voice. There's a lot of things that happen and she just sees it as a learning experience and a laughing experience rather than something to be annoyed or upset about. And this is really crucial for kids because they need to understand that you care more about them than the things that you have. I think a lot of the times, and I don't know if this is like a poverty mindset, a lack mindset, or just being overly disciplined, over an excessive disciplinarian, but it's like the preservation of things seem to take priority over the happiness of the children. Another thing I noticed about this family is there's no TV. Now, I'm not saying they don't have a TV. I haven't seen the basement properly, but I'm not sure if they, on like the family level, if they have a TV. Like she's gone down to the basement and it says here there's a music room. As you can see, there's a piano and there's one of the older sons actually has a drum kit as well. One of the videos starts out with him playing the drums. So it goes back to this idea of enriching children's lives. And you see here they've got a drawer that they can go in, and to the right of the screen you can actually see they have like a designated play area. So toys like this, farmyard animals, you can get these for a couple of dollars. You can even get them for $1 at a time if you go to Dollar Tree or the pound shop. And these just fuel a child's imagination. Imagination is something that we all need in order to be able to thrive, because we need to believe in something that we can't see. And also by giving children a range of sensory toys, it gives them the opportunity to expose kind of to you what skills they have, what kind of interests they have. So it says Romeo loves to play his 6 instruments. Instruments and learning other languages are 2 of the best ways to develop the brain, because playing an instrument or learning a language stimulates parts of the brain that you wouldn't necessarily use. Recently, I picked up a CD set in Lidl for £5, and it's Spanish, and I have a friend who loves Spanish, so I'm going to surprise her with that. And I went to a discount bookshop, or it's a discount stationery shop called The Works. They have books, but they also have arts and crafts material. It literally is The Works. If you want arts and crafts books and things like that, a lot of stuff in there that's discounted. And I also picked up basic phrases in Spanish, Italian, and French, because again, I have other people that I'm going to give those books to. As I've said in previous videos, my church has a library. So this is a way to invest in young people. I'm the boring person who gives somebody a book. Some people like that, and I realize being a good gift giver is actually about giving people gifts they would enjoy. But I definitely have become better at gift giving. So I'll give you something I think you need, but I'll also give you something that maybe you would like and want, because that's what people really appreciate, getting something that they really want. And so there were a number of things I noticed about this family. Now, like I said, I think in the basement they actually do have a TV, but a lot of the time is spent either playing upstairs or instruments. A number of the children play more than one instrument, or they do language, or they're outside. And when I'm looking at this, the husband, he actually is, I think he has a disability. And so he doesn't work that much, or maybe he doesn't work at all because he has the disability. And so, you know, they have to find various ways to make the ends meet, but somehow they do it. I think they get a little bit of support. Maybe he gets a disability allowance and things like this. As you can see, this is the bedroom, and there are 3 cribs back to back. And the youngest one, the new baby, who's not really new anymore, he sleeps in the bed with the mom and the mother and the father. And as you saw earlier, after breakfast, all of the older children chip in. Hello, how you doing, girl? It's afternoon here. How you doing? Yeah, we're talking about Mom of 10, a YouTube channel called Mom of 10. And we're just having a quick look at the way as Black women we can learn about tips and tricks to be good moms or good aunts. Maybe you have kids, maybe you don't. And some of the observations that I made from this video. So the husband has a condition. I think he's got a disability, which means he can't necessarily work so much. And so I'm not really sure. Yeah, I know. Now you say, wow, that was what made me click on it. I was like, how do you be a mom of 10? And what I wonder if I can find the first part of the video. I wonder if it's going to give it to me. Let me see. The way that she does it makes it really easy. You'd think it would be hard, but I tell you something, having more than one child is actually easier than having one child. Because if you have a child, I grew up as an only child, so I know, having one child is lonely. And that child either has to rely on friends or maybe family, cousins, or their parents to be entertained. But when you have 2 kids, the children will support each other. Jordan Peterson actually said this himself. He was like, having a couple of children is always better than having one, because having one child, I'm a mom of 2 and I'm pulling my hair out. Sometimes, not all the time. Hey love, how you doing? Yeah, so as you can see, mom of 10, she's got 10 kids. The oldest one is currently married. She just recently did a video. I think the oldest 3 are about to leave home. And this is the bedroom. So this is the first part with her morning routine. And I was impressed. They're minimalists, they're vegans. And basically, because they're minimalist, she doesn't have a lot to maintain. Okay. Everybody has like a couple of shirts, a couple of trousers or pants or skirts. Everybody has their own brand of socks. Like someone has Spider-Man, someone has Superman. Or if they're all the same type of sock, she'll put like a little colored stitch at the top so that you know which child's sock it is, because each child has the particular color stitch in their sock. As you can see, she's very organized. So she comes downstairs and I think she has a bit of a freshen up. She gets, I think, the oldest daughter and they read the Bible together, and then they do exercise. She goes upstairs and does some minimalistic makeup, which is literally maybe just like a little foundation, cream on the face, mascara and a lip gloss, because she's a minimalist. And then afterwards, the children, the smallest ones, start waking up. So I'm not keen on the names, I'll be honest with you, like Nefertiti, Aphrodite. I mean, King James, I like King James. Not necessarily the name, but he's a real character. I love him, he's great. So as you can see here, she's organized. She can't say scribe. She's instead of subscribe, she says scribe to my mom's videos. And what shocked me is how early she starts. I can't believe it's broad daylight and apparently it's 3 a.m. It looks like they're well off. I think they get some support because the husband doesn't work because of disability, I think. And probably she gets good ad money and other kind of help. I don't know how she funds this lifestyle because they have a really nice life. Okay, so 3:10 in the morning, allegedly, look how bright outside it is. They read the Bible and then they're going to do exercise. Oh, which tab am I in? See? This is old. Oh, is that a TV? I didn't see that before. I think they took this TV away, and where they're doing the exercise in this video, because this video is kind of old now, is now a children's play area. I mean, how many black families do you see doing this? First thing in the morning, mother and daughter working out together. You know, it's just a different culture. And they're reading their Bible. I don't know what that is. It's the shower. And then, okay, the first child, because these are the older children, so obviously they shower independently. But when she gets the 4 babies up, the 4 of them get ready together. Let's see if I can fast forward this a bit. So you can see they believe in enrichment. Here you see a unit. And in that unit that you just saw her lay all the clothes out on one of the drawers is full of toys. You may have seen that when you came in. So now she's doing basic makeup, basic hair. She's editing a video. Let's see what else we got. Okay. Oh, they do have a TV. This must be the basement. And they're working out down there. So they've got an entertainment room. It's not a TV. It's a screen. The screen is hooked up to a projector. Makes sense. They go and shower. And what just impressed me is how much they enrich their children's lives. You see, I don't know. Like you said, I don't know how they afford this, but the sons, they play several instruments. They speak different languages. You can see. And then they're just very cohesive as a family. The older children have no problem helping out. And because they're vegan, I suppose a lot of the prep work is not that difficult because a lot of it is just fresh fruit and vegetables. But they're just organized with everything. Okay, I didn't see this bit. They kind of recycled. Those were jars. I think those were jars for something that they bought. And then they just kept them to make them into glasses. And one thing I noticed about her is she never shouts. She never raises her voice. I mean, we don't know what happens off camera, of course. But everybody chips in. But she's just very natural. She's very calm. She lets the children do not what they want, but she definitely doesn't over police them. And what they do, she kind of makes them feel, she just lets them be kids basically. But she's organized. She just makes sure they're safe, but they're organized. All right, what's this? So she's got all kind of wash routines and different baskets. And she has 3 colors. I think it's black, white, and jeans. That's it. So everything can pretty much, not everything, the smaller children's clothes are separated from the older children's clothes, but for the most part, there's only 3 colors. So look at these 3. He's King James, I think, and I love him so much. He just flies over the rail. Oh my gosh. They all can escape. Oh my gosh. So that's it now. So this is not the first video, because in the first video I saw, why? she had to carry one of them down, but now everybody can go down the stairs by themselves. Oh my gosh. My heart was in my mouth when I saw that bit. Oh my goodness. The spiral staircase doesn't do it for me at all. Okay, so I've just got 10 little tips. Hey, Complex. I'm so annoyed that I missed your live stream. Oh my gosh, I saw it and I wanted to jump on, and when I looked, I realized it had actually already ended. It just still showed that you were live. Okay, I was like, oh no. So you get the picture. You can just look for the. I'll put a link in the description, but if you just Google in YouTube Mom of 10, you'll get all of the what's it the videos coming up. And yeah, so what I noticed, it's easier if I just find a little article. We'll just run through it quickly. You know, how is she such an effective mom of 10 children? Why do they all look happy? Why are they thriving? Well, one of the things is going to be the fact that she, you know, she has a man in the house, whether he's working or not, just his physical presence and what he adds in terms of being a father. And he is an active father, because when she has to take some of the older children to different things like music lessons and things like that, he's at home preparing meals and taking care of the kids and doing bath time. So he's involved, you know. And I wish this thing would come off the side of the screen, because it, can I get rid of this? So can I get rid of this? And it just completely loses all of my notes. Thanks for doing that. So 10 tips on how to become a good mother. The reason why I wanted to just quickly do this video is because in the Black community, I personally feel like there's a huge stigma for things that we actually should be talking about or addressing. And some of the things that we should be talking about, you know, is labeled as white or cooning or you're selling out or whatever. And there isn't that stigma for people of other races when it comes to getting educated on things that we actually could do better. Okay, so obviously children need patience as they grow and they explore and learn about the world. They're going to do different things, like put things in their mouth. They're going to drag things down. And one of the things that you can do for small children, I know, Naima, this probably doesn't apply to you because your kids are probably bigger, but things like not baby proofing your home, but actually just taking anything that you wouldn't want them to touch out of their reach and out of their sight, so that for the most part, everything in their reach, they're allowed to interact with. By doing that, you don't have to tell them no, because telling children no will actually make them want to do something more. So instead of saying, no, don't touch that, you could say something like, instead of this, we're going to use that. Or instead of this, you can have that. And when children go into all the cupboards and drag out everything, it's a way for them. It's like a Montessori play group where you use real cups and real saucers. The children learn how to maneuver in an adult way because they're given real things instead of plastic cups and toys. So you got to be patient with kids, because obviously they're going to break things, and you know, they're learning, their understanding is less than ours. What's so obvious for an adult is obviously not obvious to a child. So finding ways to talk to them and be patient with them as they're growing, it gives them room to develop at a rate that's appropriate for them. And that may take time. Okay, so it says sometimes while exploring or trying out new things, they can be pretty careless. So if they go about decorating the walls with art or spill milk over your favorite rug, then be patient and don't scream. So in the video earlier, one of the older children is rocking on the chair and then they fall off. And I could imagine my mother going ballistic, like, what the hell are you doing, kind of thing. And it's like, it's not a big deal, but the way you respond is going to make the child fearful. And that's one of the points that's a little bit further down. Being encouraging. Life is full of failure. And if we as adults, whether we're aunts, whether we're godparents, or if you have kids, if you're not encouraging, you're kind of discouraging. And children will feel frightened to try things because the voice that adults give them or people around them give them, that becomes the voice that they grow with, that they tell themselves, called their inner voice. So if you have, and I was going to do a video about parenting style and how it impacts relationships, when you have an excessively critical parent, this is one of the reasons why people develop borderline personality disorder. It's an identity crisis problem. It's a mental health problem. It's an antisocial personality disorder. But part of that is fueled by the negative inner voice. Because if you have a parent who's always telling you you're ugly, you're stupid, or when you do something, instead of highlighting what you did well, they focus on where you messed up. As you become an adult, that is how you're going to view yourself, and that's going to impact your ability to even set boundaries, because you're always trying to please people because you grew up with a parent who was excessively overbearing, or just they always have an ability to find a fault. So if you have parents who are excessively critical, that can actually impact your mental health later on as an adult, including your ability to have healthy relationships. So, and again, this goes back to the whole conversation about, who is more influential, the mother or the father? Can women raise children by themselves? And is it an issue if there are lots of single mothers? And the reason why it's going to be a problem is because by nature, women are problem finders. That gives men an opportunity to solve them, which is great in a balanced environment. But when it's excessive, it's actually harmful. And so, children need to be supported and encouraged by their mothers. And one of the reasons why I think children rebel against their mother is because when they're cute and small, women love cute, small things, but they're not really feeling those things once they get challenging, whether it's a job, whether it's a project, or maybe even their own children. When they get past the cute stage where they're easy to control, all of a sudden, being a parent is not always that fun. So the child is looking at the parent and wondering, where did the nice mommy go? The mommy that was always cooing over me and laughing with me and throwing me up. Now she's always shouting. So I think that's partly where children maybe get this, I don't want to say a fear, but it's like the breakdown in the relationship at a certain age between the mother and the child is probably due to the fact that as the child becomes more autonomous and they start to explore and maybe start saying no or rebelling, the mother just becomes frustrated. So it says children with supportive and encouraging mothers are able to take their failures lightly and try again without remorse. This trait will take with them as they grow, and they'll be also more encouraging and supportive to others. Again, the relationship you have with your parents is going to be the framework for how you relate to other people and how you view yourself later on in life. So if your mother is always discouraging you and criticizing you, then you're going to grow up being very critical of others and even very critical of yourself. Understanding, again, it's kind of the same thing. You have to understand that as a child, as Complex says, they're little people. They need to be, the stuff that you give them has to be age appropriate, but at the same time, you have to also try to push them to grow. So I suppose it's a balance of helping them to understand their world, understand their own feelings, and also understand what they can grasp at that time. And again, because we live in a culture now where you have the internet, you have the TV, children are being exposed to a lot of things that they're not mentally ready to understand or see. And that's why they're becoming damaged. Okay, this is a big one. This is one of the reasons why I actually picked this article, respectful. Because a lot of the times we hear this expression, do as I say, not what I do. And there's a difference between respecting somebody as a human being versus admiration and, looking to them as somebody you'd want to emulate. And I think a lot of the time, black people in general, whether it's men to men, men to women, adults to children, they just like to pull rank on each other. And it's like, I remember a guy, I was dating him, I'll be honest, let me just keep it all the way real. And he was a few years older than me, and he was like, respect your elders. And I look back on it, and even now I have to kind of laugh. I was like, right. Like, what planet do you come from? First and foremostly, an elder is somebody who's old enough to be your parent, not anyone who's older. But I have heard so many people say that. I mean, even I've said it before I understood what the statement meant. An elder doesn't mean just anybody older. You have to respect everybody, but there's a difference between respecting somebody because they are a human being versus respecting somebody with admiration. Okay, and not all parents are admirable. Some of them are not good. Let me just say it like that. So it says here, respect needs to be earned, and your children will need to learn this. What you do to earn your child's respect will in turn teach them to respect themselves. Children who have been taught self-respect and how to respect others are happier, more generous, and more able to cultivate good relationships later in life. And again, it goes back to, if you have a parent that's always putting you down, being very critical, everything you do, they kind of, for every silver lining, they find a cloud. Do you know what I mean? Whatever you accomplish, it's never good enough. You're actually teaching that child how to not value themselves. And so over time, you open that child up to being victimized. That if you're a parent like this, you're victimizing your child because you're highlighting their flaws all the time, and that becomes their critical inner voice. But because they have such low self-esteem, they will then go into relationships where they will allow other people to victimize them, even though they're adults and should be able to say no. So it's important to not only teach a child respect by showing them respect, it's also about being respectable. That's why I said in the last video, if you have to do what you need to do as an adult and have your adult sexy time or whatever it is, just be an A1 hypocrite. Your kids are supposed to think that they came from the store called, you found them under a flower or something, because in their mind, they can't believe that you would do whatever it is that you do at the weekend when they're with whoever. Or if you have, if you're married, you're preserving that innocence by, being a hypocrite, but so what? Because at the end of the day, when that child is exposed to certain things, they may not be able to conceptualize it, they may not be able to verbalize it, but they're losing respect for that parent. It's just like any relationship. Once the respect is gone, they won't listen either. So it's important to understand that if you want children who are respectful, you have to respect them. And I think in the black community, this concept of always pulling rank on your kids, telling them to shut up, your opinion is not needed here, do as I say, don't do as I do, and things like this. This is why we have the disconnect between young and old people, because in a lot of I'm a firm believer, not every older person is an elder. And people might say you're disrespectful, and I'm like, well, you're not really respectable. I don't care what you think. And that's something that was instilled in me from childhood, partly because my mother was that kind of person. I'm not throwing my mum under the bus. I'm just using her as a case study. She was the kind of, I remember one time we went out. We were in the car, 5 of us. I'm in the back in the middle. I look through the back window and there's one of these bollard thingies. They put them on the side of the sidewalk to stop cars riding the curb. I said to the driver, do not go back. There is a bollard there. My mother was like, shut up. You're not the driver. 2 twos now. Literally 2 seconds. We hit it. I just smiled, and I hope she saw me smiling in the back. I'm just like, yeah, I kind of did try to tell you there was something there. Now, the way she answered me was disrespectful. It was embarrassing and humiliating. And also she was wrong. Okay. She could have taken that on board, but it taught me a valuable lesson that sometimes parents don't know everything, and because of like pride or age before whatever, they don't they're not open to hearing other people's point of view. Yeah, I don't know. My internet just thinks it's funny to do that all the time. It's not funny. So I learned a valuable lesson there, that sometimes people who are older don't always know what they're talking about. And as a result of that, like I just take people on a case by case basis. And I didn't grow with my grandparents or anything like that, so I don't have that reverence for the elderly, like, oh, the elders. But also, even the people who were older, some of them were a mess. Again, it's like, because I could see it with my own eyes, I'm like, I'll be honest, I'm like, I realize, that's why there's the expression, there's no fool like an old fool. Because a lot of people are older, but they're not necessarily wiser. And the thing is, once a child gets to about 9, they understand, oh, you're a bit of a hypocrite. So if you have to do your lean things, don't make them see. Because once the respect is gone, especially as a single mom, where even if you can overpower me, if we get going to blows, I'll give you a good fight. You may whoop me, but I'm not going down without a fight. That's a problem. That's a problem. And this is where the abuse and, like, mothers who are really going in on their kids start, because the mother's so desperate to try and regain control. The so-called discipline starts going beyond what is normal or right. Okay? So I don't need to beat the dead horse. We get it. Respect is important, and respect is two-way. Now, here it says discipline, it doesn't have to be mean. Sometimes, I think we have a culture of just like shade and beefing and kind of tearing people down. And we think it's all jokes and laughs. And it's not, because that dents a child's confidence. And another thing about the discipline is, obviously, as you saw with the lady, she's disciplined in the way she runs her home. That's why she's able to have 10 kids, and everyone's, it seems, for the most part, happy. She's disciplined with her routine. And I said this in another video, when kids know that what you say, you're not going to follow through. Like, my mother tried to implement a routine. She wrote it on a piece of paper and stuck it on my wall. And I'm just like, I don't know if I ever looked at that thing, because my mother was never there to enforce it anyway. And again, like I said, I'm not throwing her under the bus, but I'm just talking from my personal experience. It's like, fold your clothes, pack your bag from the night before. And I was just like, whether I do it or not, you're not here to see. So what difference does it make? I mean, I regret not listening, because being organized helps you. But at the same time, kids learn more from what they witness you doing than what they are told, especially if you're not there to enforce it. And again, this is another problem with single moms. Men who make more money probably can free up more time to be physically there with the child, to keep that foot on the neck. But a mother who has to work excessively because she needs to make that money, that child is going to fall through the cracks, because there's no one there to mind them. And other people, when you send those kids to other people, they don't really have the authority to deal with those kids. Then they're not going to want to be, spanking or disciplining other people's children. And the mother's probably going to be like, who are you to beat my kids? So it's kind of like the issue we have even in the school system. We complain that there's a shortage of black male teachers, but it's very hard to be a black male teacher, because oftentimes in the communities that we are in the West, where we don't have respect for teachers, if the child is out of pocket, instead of the parent coming down and disciplining the child, the parent will come to the school and fight the teacher. This is why a lot of people don't want the job as a teacher. I know my internet has a sick sense of humor. My internet doesn't respect me. I need to do something to earn my internet's respect. And this is why we have a shortage of teachers, because the job is like, on so many levels, it's not worth it. Because as much as you want to enrich the lives of young people, those young people don't even respect you, and the parents don't support the work of the teacher. Okay, so it says here, what makes a mother great is her ability to understand the behavior of a child and let them know that they are not bad people. It's just the action that was bad. So instead of constantly saying, things like you're stupid, you could say something like, oh, how could you flip that around? I don't know. Instead of saying, well, you shouldn't say to a child you're stupid, but you could say this is a better option. you know, if you want this type of outcome, this is what the smart person would do. I don't know. That's still insinuating that the person's stupid, but you get what I'm trying to say, okay? And the other thing is obviously follow through on your rules. If you make a rule, keep it. And what I would personally say is, if you don't know what decision to make, just say, I'll think about it. I think that's what I would do. If I couldn't make a snap decision, I'd be like, leave it with me and I'll get back to you. And then I'll kind of have to divvy it up and then come back. That way, I haven't made a decision that I then go back on. Because once the child knows that you're somebody who doesn't stick to their word, man, that's it. That's it. You're finished. Always there for their children. Again, for the single mothers, that's going to be hard, because it's not just about being physically present, it's also about being emotionally present, and that takes energy. And if you've been working all day because you're the only breadwinner, that can be difficult. Okay, so making time for them, be interested in what they like, finding ways to cultivate their skill set is important, because that also helps them to feel important. And it says here, it breeds trust, self-worth, and love. And a lot of this colorism argument is to do with this, the fact that a lot of these young people are growing up in an environment where they're just not made to feel important. A lot of Black people, they like to talk about how much they love kids, but I think it's the making of the kids that they love, because it's more than just making the babies. And this is why, as we talked about in the last video, fathers do better, because their care is child-centered. How many times do you see mothers, letting kids paint their nails and paint their face with a lipstick and they look like the Joker or something? But all the time you see images of dads and he's sitting down at the little table, and he's drinking the imaginary tea, and she's painting his nails, or he's allowing her to put on lipstick. And it's more than just he's got a thing for lipstick. It's actually that he wants the child to know what you are interested in is important to me. And his central focus is making the child happy. But when the child feels important as they grow up, they also believe other people will treat them like that, but they won't tolerate abusive behavior so readily, because they're not used to being treated like this at home. So sense of self-worth, to me, that's what a lot of this colorism, featureism, texturism is a lot of these young people were not made to feel special growing up. That's why you need fathers in the home, because they're the first male that's supposed to give you that non-sexual validation. Okay, humble. It's kind of going back to the situation with the car. You back the car up. I just told you there's something there and you're about to hit it. You tell me shut up in the back of the car and we hit it. What you should have said is, damn, we should have listened, I'm sorry. I would have had more respect for you at that point. But everyone can see you're wrong, but you haven't got what it takes to say, you know what, I'm really sorry, we should have listened. You just kind of let it go. But again, children live what they learn. So if you grow up in an environment where people can't apologize to you, that child is going to be one of those strong but wrong. And it's all about when somebody is wrong and you're to blame as well. When that person doubles down, you don't feel like admitting you're wrong, because once you admit you were wrong, they will try to put 100% on the blame on you. And that's where you get the butting of heads. But once that person says, you know what, I think this is where I messed up, but you did this. Once the person is willing to say, I messed up, you're more likely to also say, yeah, I kind of did the wrong thing too. And the whole thing gets squashed. Again, when you have parents who try to always pull rank on you, instead of just be honest and talk to you on a level, That's how conflict is resolved in a healthy way, as opposed to kind of strong manning everybody and trying to force them to do what you want them to do. So it says here, second line, not only does this prevent the situation from getting worse, it also teaches your child the valuable lesson that everybody makes mistakes and it's okay as long as you're humble enough to admit it. Again, it goes back to respect, respecting yourself and learning to respect others. Being a mentor, help your child to become self-reliant. I watched this video and this lady said, I watched two videos. This lady said she got a daughter and she came and saw the daughter trying to go up the stairs with two things in her hand. She's quite small, so it's a challenge. And some parents would have intervened because they want to help. And I think a lot of people have heard this story of the little boy who saw the chick trying to get out of the egg. And hey, true dads are more stoic and direct. And these are the skills that we need when we become adults, because the world doesn't owe us anything. And when we go into life with this feminine mindset that people owe us things and they need to accommodate us and, our feelings or whatever, the world doesn't operate like that. And we learn that mentality from our mothers, but the mothers, because of their subjective mindset as women, instead of saying the world doesn't work like that and they guide us through, sometimes, I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of like there isn't that guidance. And this is what this point actually is saying: mentoring, help your child to become self-reliant. And the story goes, a little boy came and he saw a chick struggling to get out of the shell. So he thought, I'm going to help the chick, and he cracked the shell open. Later on, he came back and the chick was dead. So he explained to his parents, like, I helped this chick and I thought blah, 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 and the chick is dead. And the parents had to explain to the boy that for that chick to learn the resilience to survive, and maybe they build up some muscle, maybe they release some hormones or some chemicals, we don't know, that chick has to break through. Because if that chick does not break through, when they get to being independent, they're not going to have the fight to live. And this is where the concept of black women coddling their boys comes from. Sometimes it may come from guilt because the father's not present, so she overcompensates by constantly mothering him. But that smothering stops him actually becoming a man. And so you may think you're helping that child, whether it's a son or a daughter, but again, this is where the resistance to the mother comes from, because the child wants to grow and spread their wings, but the mother's trying to constantly baby them, and then she thinks she's helping, but she's not. So this lady says she saw the child going up the stairs, and I watched this funny video. I can't even find it now, but it was the video was this little boy. He climbs over the gate. Everybody, whose parent or has had kids, like, there's that gate. You go to certain people's homes, and even once the children have grown, the gate is still there. And this child is now big enough to climb the gate. They wanted something out of the drawer, but they couldn't get everything over the gate. So he opens the drawer, takes the object out, walks away, realizes he's forgot the drawer open, closes it, throws the object over the gate, climbs the gate, goes under the cabinet where the thing flew and gets it out and kind of runs off with it. And again, most people would have been like, this child is so naughty. But what that actually shows is the child has problem-solving ability and their brain is growing. As much as a parent, you'd find that frustrating because it's dangerous and it's naughty because probably what you're taking, you're not supposed to be taking. You have to appreciate that that's a sign that that child is developing in a healthy way. If that child was just sitting there, never trying, never exploring, that's cause for concern. That child is not growing. But the fact that, despite the fact what they did was wrong, you can respect the fact that they saw there was a problem, they knew the solution they wanted, and they found the steps to make it happen. Problem-solving ability is a part of being a mature adult. And again, sometimes black people, they care more about things than the children. Like, I knew this lady and she had a couple of kids, but the lounge was locked because she cared about preserving the lounge as a pretty space. And so how is that going to impact the children? It's going to make them feel like you care more about the couches and the doily on the tables than you do about us being free in our own home. So it says take the time to teach your children. Some kids show their talent from an early age. Pay attention. If your child has any specific talent, help them to cultivate it. Um, and also encourage them to be independent, so that their talents can help them to be independent in life. If you have children who are not being enriched, as I said in previous videos, it's about skill. The more skills you have, the more skills that you can actually make money from later on in life. We're nearly there. Number 9, approachable. This is where your neglect, your abuse comes in. This is why in the Black community, again, that aggressive, overbearing parenting allows a lot of the abuse that we complain about to fly under the radar. Because once predators know that even if you take your issues to your parents, they're not there to listen to you, they can abuse you and no one's there to really help you. Okay, so it says good communication in family is important to understand one another and build trust and loving relationships. Children of any age need to feel that they can approach their mom for any kind of problem, even if it's a sensitive one. So cultivate open and honest communication. I just watched this video where this lady's combing her 1-year-old's hair, and the child starts saying how she went to Auntie So and so's house, and the auntie put makeup on her, and she's combing the hair. And she's like, "Oh, really, girl? Tell me, what did she put makeup on your eyes? Really?" And the girl's just like, "Should I be telling you this? I almost feel like this is a trap, but I'm going to tell you anyway." Now, I didn't really like everything about the way she spoke to the child, but what it shows is once you open up the communication, the child is more likely to not keep secrets from you. And if you are communicating, like again, how does somebody abuse a child in a house for years? It's because there's no communication between the parents and the child for them to notice changes in behavior, like loss of appetite, weight gain, weight loss, stress, sleeplessness, change in mood. These are all signs that something is going on, but if you're not attentive, you're going to miss it. And what you miss, the predator is not missing. They see a loophole that they can get in. So communication is obviously important for all types of relationship. If you have good communication skills and good communication with your parents, if you believe that if you have an issue, somebody is going to listen to you, you go again into that with your future relationships as an expectation. So you're not going to put yourself in situations where you feel like this person is abusive or controlling, because that's just not what you're used to growing up. How we are raised seriously impacts how we view ourselves and what we tolerate in our future relationships. And obviously being a mother, this is kind of like comparing a mother to the father again. Being strong, being a mother can be a stressful job, and it often comes at the cost of your own self. And what we see obviously nowadays with a lot of women is it's about me, me, me. I want a baby because I want a child. Or like I got into it with somebody in the comment section, and they were like, well, if this person, not the comment section, I think it was Instagram, well, so what if the guy doesn't want the baby? That's what child support is for. It's like the baby's just collateral damage now, because at the end of the day, you just care about one-upping the guy and, punishing him for allegedly or quote unquote getting you pregnant. But the child is suffering in this war zone between the two parents because of your actions. So sacrificial, again, if you were a parent, and obviously there's no guarantees that if you are sacrificing for your kids they'll appreciate it, but they're more likely to appreciate and respect you if they see that you make the effort to be there for them. So make sure to be strong for your children, because they're watching how you handle life on a day-to-day basis. Again, when you have people who say, the absence of the father is why a lot of young people are a mess, it doesn't make sense, because the child is watching every day how you conduct everyday business, from how you dress to how you talk to how you interact with people, how you manage your money. They're observing and learning, and whether they like what you do or not, that's often what they're going to replicate in their own life. So caring for your children will take a lot out of you, and it's important to show yourself a little tender loving care. Make sure you take care of your physical and your mental health. and at the same time, it's so that if you burn out, there's no one there for them. Okay, a mother is the heart of the family and a child's guiding hand. So be a good role model. So that's just all. It's just a quick one. Like I said, you guys can go and check out Mom of 10, and this is an article. I'll put the link in the description as always. And that's all I've got for this one. What did Mr. Research say? Even if you don't get along with a father, they are still more grounded many times on what is important to learn. And that's the thing. Because of the way men generally are, it's like relationships are often based on an overarching feeling. There are certain people, when I think of them, I'm immediately stressed. And are they stressing me all the time? No, it's quite challenging to be the kind of person who is stressing someone all the time. But the interactions that we have had that have been super stressful are the first things I think about. And this is a human preservation tactic. By nature, human beings focus on negativity because they want to minimize risk. They want to minimize harm to themselves. So if you have, you're welcome. So if you have people in your life who, when you think of them, naturally you get this reaction of fear, anxiety, stress, whatever, you're going to move away from them because as human beings, we don't want to be harmed. And stress is a form of harm. Okay, so, and this is why women get irritated by the father, because the father maybe is like a quote unquote deadbeat, but the child doesn't have negative connotation attached to that father. When they think of him, okay, he's absent, but when he is around, he's good. So the overarching feeling for the child is my dad is good. And whereas my mom is nagging, my mom's always shouting, my mom's always beating me, she's never there, or she prioritizes other things above me. That's the overarching sentiment the child may have of the mother, even if most of the time she's doing what she should be doing. And so, again, because of, it's like when people say word association, and you ask the person, I'm going to say a word, and you tell me the first thing that comes in your head. And you say the father, he always comes to my games. You ask the child, mother, she's always shouting at me. It's, do you understand? It's like, and the mother's going to be like, huh? What do you mean? No, I'm not. I pay the bills. I put food on the table. I do the shopping. I do this. I do that. And it's like, yeah, but the feeling I have when I'm around you is at any minute you're going to fly off the handle and start shouting. And so even though the father is not doing all the practical stuff, his emotional support is often more important to a child because that's how they view the world, by the way things make them feel. And so, and the father is often going to be consistent. Like I said, I think a woman is going to be like, oh, the baby's so cute. And then afterwards, as the child starts to get more independent, she's going to change. Whereas a father is more likely to be consistent. So regardless of what kind of father that man is, that child always knows what to expect with this person. And that consistency, that routine helps them to be, feel secure. So yeah, I'll put all the links in the description box below. Or a deadbeat for only the past 5 years, and he may level up later. And again, because the way the child perceives the father, the child is more accepting of the father, because it's like, it's like zero or positive, whereas with the mother it's kind of a mixture of positive and negatives. So again, it also depends on what the mother says about the father. If the mother tries to poison the child. But the problem with that is it often backfires, because once the child is able to do their own investigation, they may realize actually the problem was the mother, not the father, and then it completely falls apart. So I'm not saying that parenting is easy, But I think one of the things that's really sad about the Black community is we don't like to ask for help with the things that are really important, and we often shame each other for things that we should be praising and encouraging. And instead of encouraging like dances or fashion or whatever, and I'm not against having a good time or looking good or whatever, or culture, but if our culture is not leading us to be successful as a group, we need to start rethinking some aspects of our culture. And I always believe that foundation of the society is the family, and the family is dictated by the moms. So that's all I got for this one. Share this video with somebody who needs to see it. Shout out to everybody, Complex, Naima, Mr. Research, because I'm a Fury. All of you guys who came through, I really appreciate. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.